Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Just sit tight here for one more moment and we will be getting started. All right, I think it's about time to get started. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am Michael. I am with the City of West Palm Beach and the Office of Sustainability. We are so excited to be partnering with Resource Depot today to chat about forming a fashion revolution with a very sustainable wardrobe. Fast fashion detox in a way. Today, we are joined by Chelsea from Resource Depot, and we are really excited to be talking about this topic. If you have any questions during this presentation, please feel free to drop them in our chat box, and we will have questions and answers at the end. Keep in mind that if you do like today's program, we have many more scheduled. You can always visit our website at wpb.org/green to view our upcoming programs. I will be sending out a follow-up email after today's presentation, which will include the recording of today's presentation in case you'd like to watch it again or share it with others, and also some important links and resources that may be mentioned today. So please view this as it comes through a little bit later and share with others. At that, I think we are about ready to move on. And Chelsea, I think we're ready to transition and you can take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. I am so very excited to be talking with all of you today. Again, my name is Chelsea Odom. I'm the Director of Education and Artist Relations at Resource Depot. And if you guys have never been to Resource Depot, I do recommend you stop by. Let me just get my slideshow open. All right. Everybody can see that all right? Okay. So today we're going to talk about fashion detox, fast fashion detox, and how to make our closets a little bit more sustainable. I am not a fashion expert by any means. I just work for a nonprofit, and the environment is part of our focus and how we can make habits in our lives to change those. So I am not a fashionista. I'm not, it's not something I've studied for years. I've done some research. I found good resources. So I'm here to talk with you guys. First thing I wanted to talk about, so a lot of us are aware of the negatives of fashion. If you're not, I'm going to review them a little bit, but don't worry, this will not be the only thing I talk about. I will talk about how we can make improvements and the good that we can do. But did you know that the term sweatshop was coined in the 1850s? So a lot of the issues that we have today with our fashion industry have been an issue for a long time and are nothing new. Fashion used to be handmade. It was local, it was custom. It wasn't until we developed machinery and started mass producing our garments and things we could get from other cities and things like that we started having more issues. But fashion used to just be, you went to your local tailor and they made you something. And most of the time people wore clothes until they fell apart. This image is sort of what fashion looks like today. We are mass producing items. Obviously, there are one-of-a-kind things that are made by local designers and there's specialty designers that focus on making one garment. And they're usually thousands of dollars, they're really high price. But generally, things most of us are wearing every day are mass produced. And there's a lot of facts around fast fashion and fashion in general. Today, 36 people are living in modern slavery, many of whom are working in the supply chains of Western brands. So there are a lot of the companies that we view as American companies, but their garments are being made overseas. And there are 215 million children working throughout the world, many full-time. So they're not going to school, they're working. It's estimated that the current minimum wage in Bangladesh still only covers 60% of the cost of living in a slum. So a lot of the workers that are in these factories that make our clothing are not making a living wage. And the cost of clothing production keeps going up, yet our prices stay the same. So where companies are making the squeeze is what they're paying their workers. The other thing to think about is the amount of resources that go into clothing. One shirt, one cotton t-shirt, takes about 2,500 liters or 660 gallons of water to make that t-shirt. And there's a lot that goes into the making of a garment. There's the farming of it, right? The raw materials, cotton, wool, whatever it is. Are we feeding the animals? How much water are we giving the plants? And then the processing of the material, it's being cleaned. You know, there's a lot that goes into garments beyond just sewing fabric together. Another big issue is the pollutants that are created when we're a lot of the times altering or generating those natural resources. 17 to 20% of industrial water pollutants come from the textile dyeing and treatment. There's an estimated 80,000 synthetic chemicals that are used throughout the world to turn raw materials into textiles, many of which are released into our water streams. And I've read that even once they go through a water treatment plant, there's still chemical traces. So that is something to think about. And I've recently listened to an article or listened to a video about a guy talking about, are there ways that we could use dyes that are natural? Like, can we dye with turmeric or berries or things that we can naturally source? They just wouldn't be permanent garments. As we wash them, they would change colors, and maybe that's okay. That's a change that we could make. As I said before, the natural resources. So where is the clothing coming from? Cotton. According to the Pesticide Action Network, non-organic cotton uses 22.5% of the world's insecticides and 10% of the world's pesticides. And that's on 2.5% of the world's agricultural land. So 2.5% of our land is being used for farming, not for farming of cotton for our clothing, not for food, not for animals. So that is something to think about. And 1 to 3 of agricultural workers worldwide suffer from acute pesticide poisoning, with at least 1 million requiring hospitalization each year, which is a big thing. We have to, these things are being treated with pesticides, fertilizers, all sorts of things that is affecting our environment. And that's the base level of our garments. That's where it first starts. Textile waste. As Resource Depot, we're a creative reuse center. So a lot of our focus is on waste and how we dispose of things and how we can reuse things. So there's 2 types of textile waste for the most part. There's the pre-consumer, which is the leftover materials from the production of clothing. So it's like the cutoffs and the scraps. And there's the post-consumer, which is basically after we buy garments, what we do after we're finished with them. So worldwide consumption of textiles has reached about 73 million tons and is expected to grow at nearly 4% annually through 2025. Yet only 20% of textiles are recycled each year around the world, 20%. And yet we're making 73 million tons of clothing. That's a really big number. Hopefully some of that number is staying in people's closets. But yeah, and textile recycling is a little bit of a confusing matter. So every couple of years we go to a reuse conference, And it features people like Goodwill and other organizations that are in the reuse business outside of our creative reuse business. And we went one year to listen to a talk about textile waste because we get a lot of textiles. And not just, we don't really take clothing textiles normally, but we get like furniture textiles and crafting textiles. And so we get overburdened with it, and we're always trying to figure out, okay, how do I recycle these things? And we were a little disconcerted to know that recycling isn't always really what's happening to clothing. So in the UK, roughly 2 million tons of clothing and textiles are thrown away every year, and only 16% of waste is ever reused. Meanwhile, 80% of textile waste going to landfills can actually be reused, but it's not. Of clothing donated to charities in the UK, only 10 to 30% are actually resold. The rest is exported overseas. Uganda, some 81% of all clothing sold today are cast-offs from the West. It's been widely reported that this flux of secondhand clothing is developing countries is destroying local textiles and tailoring economies. So instead of producing their own clothing that are traditional to cultures and things, they're abandoning that and clothing. And a lot of the times, recycling, the term recycling is this. They're like, we send it to another country for them to use. There are companies that recycle things. A lot of clothing recycling is based around organic materials. So cottons are a big recycled fiber. A lot of the times they are torn and used for cleaning and industrial waste. Companies are more recently starting to actually recycle their threads, like take them apart and make them into new garments. But for many, many years, recycling was just, oh, we're gonna cut these up, clean with them, and then we're shipping them to another country. That was what clothing recycling has been. After we buy and wear clothes, we wash them, obviously. And many detergents has phosphate, which are released into the water system and can increase algae growth. And we all are aware of what that means living in South Florida, although most of our phosphates are coming from agriculture, but we are contributing to that by washing our clothes. And recent estimates have assessed that synthetic clothes contributing about 35% to the global release of primary microplastics to the world ocean, thus becoming the main source of microplastics. If you are not aware of microplastics or plastic problems in the ocean in general, it is a very large problem. And part of that, as you can see from that statistic, is coming from us washing our clothes. So when you have an article of clothing that's made of like polyester or anything that's basically threads of plastic, every time you wash, little itsy bitsy pieces are ending up in the water stream. And the downfall is, so a lot of people argue because of the large pesticide amount in cotton shirts that maybe synthetics are better. They take less water. You don't use pesticides to create them. And a lot of times those synthetic fibers can be recycled from plastic bottles, which is really cool. But then you have the microplastic leaching into our water system issue to deal with. So there's always a multi-layered issue. It's never one answer, right? Four, the loss of culture, heritage, craft, ancient techniques, and jobs are lost in fields. A few hundred years ago, thousands of people were making traditional kimonos. You guys can still hear me all right? My computer just said my internet connection was a little fuzzy.
Yeah, you're a little fuzzy at times,
okay.
But you're okay.
Thousands of people were making traditional kimonos, but today there are only about 3 families left in Japan who do this work. And that's just a side note almost, that it's like there are human rights issues, there are pollution issues, and then, oh, yes, we're losing our culture of our garments. So yeah, resource depletion, because we're taking up land to farm different resources and using land to do these productions, animal suffering, water and air pollution, food insecurity, habitat destruction, human rights abuses. And the problem is, who's responsible? And the answer nobody ever wants to hear is us. Whether you're someone who buys clothes, wears fashion, that's pretty much everyone, Or you work in the industry along the supply chain, or maybe you're a policymaker that can have an impact on legal requirements. You are accountable for the impact fashion has on people's lives and on nature. Now, that's not to be all doom and gloom, because the thing is, once you know there is a problem, once you're aware of the problem, we can actually do something about it. We can't do anything until we know it's a problem. So by saying, yes, it's our problem, doesn't mean we have to feel burdened and sad and, oh, I feel so upset, I just can't do anything. Now is the time to make an action. And the thing is, yes, we are responsible because we buy more clothes and spend less on them, even though the price of what it takes to make them keeps going up. As a society, we purchase 400% more clothing today than we did just 20 years ago. There are 80 billion garments produced each year, and the average American buys 64 items of clothing each year. That's a lot of clothing. There's one quote that I really like that said, as a shopper, you might buy 4 articles of clothing that are similar, like 4 jackets. Whereas your grandmother, when she was allowed 1 jacket. So we have changed the way we purchase. And there's not just 2 seasons for fashion anymore. And that's why the term fast fashion has been coined. There's new collections that come out every week or 2. So if you are really into fashion and you're following the latest trends, there are new trends every couple of weeks. So if you want to look trendy, you're buying more and more clothes. And that's something we have to come to terms with. As a society, we're making these choices. And so you must be asking at this point, okay, this is all horrible. And honestly, there's even more stuff that I'm not even talking about. I don't want to overburden, but these are some things that you can do as a consumer. Use clothes until they are at the end of their life. Repair or alter clothes when needed. Buy quality over quantity. Buy used, local, and eco-conscious brands. Avoid fashion trends and just buy what you like. And upcycle your wardrobe. Donate, swap clothing. You can even rent clothing now for fancy events. And the most environmentally sustainable jacket, a new jacket, but do you already have?
Uh-oh, I think we have lost Chelsea. That's not good. Oh, here she is. Chelsea, can you hear us? I think we lost you.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, yep, we cut out here. We lost
Did I
your...
lose you guys?
You lost us a couple slides ago. Can you reshare your slides?
Sure. You see them now?
Yes.
Yay,
okay.
technology.
Yeah. All right, we can start about there, I think.
Okay. So yeah, these were suggestions that I had for what we can do to not be all doom and gloom, right? There are things that we can do as consumers that are important, and also just as people that own clothing. So we can use clothes until the end of their life. We can repair or alter clothes when needed, buy quality over quantity, buy used, local, eco-conscious brands, avoid fashion trends, just buy what you like, and upcycle your wardrobe, donate things. You can have clothing swaps, and you can even rent them for really special, fancy events where you know you're only going to wear something once. So those are some really simple ways that we can have an impact. And I really liked this quote from Patagonia's chief product officer: "The most environmentally sustainable jacket is the one that's already in your closet." So By me telling you all this, I do not want you to purge your whole entire wardrobe and like only buy eco-conscious, environmentally friendly, you know, brands. That's like the worst thing you can do. Keep the clothes that you already have. They were already produced, they already took natural resources, you know, those are already there. So use them. Just be considerate in what you buy in the future. And really, as consumers, the power is in our pocketbook. Companies will listen to the changes that we want to happen, not only through policymakers, you can donate to organizations that are trying to get policies changed, but also the way you spend your money. They pay attention because they want to make money. So if you're spending your money with eco-conscious brands, they're going to pay attention and they're going to start to change the way that they produce things. It's a slow moving action, but it does work. And as I said, you could donate funds to organizations. Fashion Revolution was founded in reaction to a factory collapse where over people died in a fashion factory, and most of those were brands, Western brands. So there is a whole list of organizations that are working to do better. You can donate money to them. And also, they have an index of what brands are transparent. So they tell you where their sources came from, how much they pay their employees. So you can look at different brands, and some brands are more transparent than others. So they have this like transparency index you can download. You don't have to do all the work. Other people are doing it for you. You can figure out which brands are transparent so that you can make conscious decisions. There's also lots of lists of eco-friendly brands, and they list, there's price points, so you can buy really expensive eco clothing and a little cheaper eco clothing. So other people are doing the work for you. They also make apps, and the apps will actually tell you suggestions and give you the background, that transparency element to the companies that you're looking at. So don't feel like you have to like stay on the internet for years and years trying to figure this stuff out. It's figured out for you already. And again, spending power is all in you. So look into those apps and figure out what companies you could support. A lot of people have been on the Marie Kondo train about purging things from their life. We know as a creative reuse center, we take people's donations of stuff they don't want anymore. So we get a lot of things. And I think she's totally great. I think it's awesome. It's also a way to organize your clothing so that you know what's in your closet. Because sometimes you go and buy something because you can't find that white shirt that you had. And then really it was just like in the bottom of your drawer because your clothes weren't folded properly and you couldn't see it. So Marie Kondo is awesome, but don't purge your entire closet to the point where you don't have anything to wear and then you go and buy more. That's not productive either. But keep what brings you joy and know the things in your closet that make that happen. Another really helpful hint is know your body type and know what looks good on you. Because if it looks good on you, you're going to feel good about it. You're going to want to wear it, and you're going to want to wear it until it disintegrates because you know it looks good on you. There's lots of articles and things, and you know, I'm not a fashion person, but if you understand what clothes looks good on you, that's going to help you in understanding how to deal with your wardrobe. Also, having key parts to your outfit that work for your life. Everyone has a different job. If you're a yoga instructor, you will probably mainly be wearing workout uniforms. If you work in a bank or a business office, you'll probably be wearing suits and dresses and things like that. And that's okay. Everyone has a different wardrobe and you just need to realize what works for your life. You don't have to meet up to someone else's standards. And let's face it, our work wardrobe is what majority of the time. So what it is that you wear most of the time and works for you. Sure, you can have a fantail dress, but maybe you don't need 5 of them if that's not what you wear most of the time. So understand what your life means in your wardrobe. You guys can still hear me, right?
Yes, I think you're good.
Okay, I just got another notification. The other important thing is you by how you wear them. The is one dress that's worn multiple ways. It's worn just as is. It's worn with pants, a skirt, have the sweater on top, add a belt, do a jacket. It's one article of clothing that can be accessorized with other things. And it just makes your wardrobe that much richer. You know, we all don't want to wear the same thing every day. So we don't want to look like we're wearing the same thing every day. So there's different ways that you can really have a different look to your outfit just by adding different elements, a jacket, a necklace, different shoes, different pair of pants, you know. The same shirt can be a lot of different looks. And by doing this, by having articles of clothing that you can mix and match like this, it will slim down the number of clothing you feel like you need. Maybe we don't need that skirt that doesn't match anything else we own. Another thing that's a really fun way to revive your outfits and your wardrobe in general are clothing swaps. So you can host them with friends, and it's a nice way to get some new clothing and you're not spending any money. It's just already circulating within your friend group. The one thing that we like to enforce, not just in the fashion industry, but in general, is the idea of a circular economy. How can we share things and how can we make sure items aren't being thrown away? Another thing in our area of expertise, not necessarily in fashion, but is upcycling. So there's lots of ways you can take an article of clothing that maybe you don't like anymore and upcycle it, or that doesn't fit you, or that had a stain or a rip or a tear. You can combine things, sew them together, and no, you don't have to have sewing skills. You could totally upcycle something by just getting some iron-on glue, and you could upcycle things this way. This orange dress is totally just, all that lace is just attached. Embroidery, you don't have to be an artist or a creative person to upcycle things. So this top was a little tight, and she extended the seam by adding some more fabric. Cutting off the sleeves, adjusting the height of something is one way to upcycle things. Many people are into painting or adding patches onto articles of clothing, which is a great way to give it a new look. Also dyeing articles of clothing, make it a new color. A really fun way to upcycle shoes is by painting them, adding new fabric onto them, especially heels when they get all scuffed up. You can just add a little bit more fabric onto them and then they're a brand new pair of heels. Also taking things in your wardrobe that maybe you don't wear anymore, like men's ties, and making a skirt out of them, making a purse out of them, a scarf. There's all sorts of things that could be used instead of it being discarded. Another thing to consider outside of reviving your wardrobe is making things last longer. And one reuse conference we went to, a woman tried to tell us that we should never wash our clothes. I don't necessarily agree with that fact, but you should try and wash your clothes less. So if you wear something for a couple hours and then end up changing because you have a different event later in the evening, maybe what you wore in the morning isn't dirty and doesn't need to be washed again. You could wear it again. Not only will it extend the life of your clothes, but it puts less detergent and less of those microfibers into our water system. Try and find natural detergents that aren't going to have those phosphates in them. And also, if you do have a lot of synthetic based fabrics, get mesh bags, and they have these like microplastic catchers. I don't know how well they work, but at least it's trying to do something to get microplastics out of the waste stream. And keep in mind, doing nothing. I'm not perfect. You know, I still will buy something at Target. There's lots of things that I do that aren't perfect, but I at least make an effort. And I try and do things. I've been a thrift shopper most of my life, but you know, there's lots of things we can do different, and you shouldn't feel like, oh, I'm good. And again, there's so many issues around fast fashion industry. Figure out when enough is for you. So knowing what's enough for you will help you not only simplifying small. Again, you don't have to do everything all at once. I got disconnected again.
I think so.
I think we have multiple video chats happening here. That might be part of our problem.
Oh, yeah. Well, about how much more did you have in your presentation? We could
Not
possibly
not
share it.
not very much.
Okay. Okay.
Basically, I was just telling people to do what works for them. And if you guys are interested, right now we're doing our alternative fashion program we do with students, and we're going to have a runaway event on April 23rd, so you can see all the things that they made. We're also having a clothing swap, so we're taking in donations of clothing, which we don't normally do, just for this event. And it's in conjunction with the Fashion Revolution Day, and it's basically in remembrance of a factory collapse that killed thousands of people. They've been doing it for a couple years now on April 24th. So thank you guys. And I have some links that I can share with Michael, and he can share with you that are helpful for reducing your wardrobe and having a more and friendly environmental impact. Does anyone have any questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chelsea. That was really interesting stuff. I think we do. We do have a couple of questions here. There was one question. So, is there a place in West Palm that you could donate clothing, textiles, or recycle the textiles?
So, in terms of clothing donations, oops. Sorry, Michael. I don't know. Your screen is frozen, so I assume.
Oh yeah, you're fading in and out real bad. Okay. Yes.
Sorry.
Yep, that's okay. We have a question here about getting your email. Maybe they can connect with you individually here, since we're
Of course.
we've got a bad connection. Yes, I will send that out here as well. Let me just write a quick note.
But yes, there are some local places where you can donate clothing. Obviously, there's like Goodwill and Salvation Army, but there's like the Lord's Place. They will take clothing, and there's some other really nice organizations. In terms of textile recycling, that is a harder issue that I would have to do more research locally as to where we could actually do that. But you can do recycling on your own. Like, instead of throwing away that shirt that has a hole in it, you can cut it up and use it for cleaning. Same with old socks. No organization that takes clothing wants your old socks. I'm sorry. So recycle them at home, repurpose them at home. You can do it.
Say no to socks. Okay, I see. Okay, another question here. What are some eco-friendly brands of clothing that you can recommend?
Ooh. So I've tried a couple. I've ordered some stuff from Pact. That's PACT. I was a little disappointed because when things came in the mail, they were wrapped in plastic.
Oh,
which
packed in
ordering
plastic,
like
not good. Yeah.
organic cotton clothing that didn't have plastic in it came in plastic. But I can send a whole list of some eco organizations, most definitely. And some of them support causes. So you buy this and they'll plant a tree, or they do other stuff to offset their.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Hey, that sounds good. Yes, please share with us, Chelsea, and I will send it out to everyone. I don't know. Have we lost you completely?
Nope, I'm still here.
Okay. Just one last question. I think you had already answered it, but how do we handle microplastics? Is there any way to handle the microplastics?
Yeah. And like I said, organic cotton shirts use a lot of resources, and synthetic fibers sometimes use less water and stuff. So a lot of people turn to that instead of an organic cotton. But yeah, the washing creating the microplastics. So they make these mesh bags that you can put your synthetic clothing in before you wash them. So in theory, the microplastics are getting in the bag and not going in the water stream. I also bought this weird little ball that's supposed to collect them. Again, I don't know how well these products work, but we're at least attempting them.
Right.
But yeah, so I can send a list of some of those suggestions as well.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you very much. As we get ready to wrap up here, I did see a comment about a clothing swap. I know Resource Depot has a clothing swap coming up. We in our office had done a clothing swap in the past, and I did see that there was a women's running group that they buy nothing and they do a clothing swap, jewelry swap, shoe swap, purse swap. So that's really, really interesting. Very good, you guys. So yes, as we wrap up here, we want to thank Chelsea again for her time in this wonderful presentation. I'd like to just remind everybody about our high efficiency toilet voucher program. We do have a handful of toilets left, and so if you haven't applied, if you think your property does qualify for this, go ahead and turn in an application, and we'd be more than happy to help you get a new toilet for your home. I wanted to remind everybody about our rain barrel giveaway. Our next giveaway is April 3rd, and we're coming down towards the end of rain barrels here, so we've got only a few more left. If you are interested in your rain barrel, please register at wpb.org/savewater. Get your rain barrel today. And of course, we have trees. We do tree giveaway as well. We're limiting it to 4 trees per property. And if you're interested in getting some more trees, you can pick them up again on April 3rd. And you can register online at wpb.org/10ktrees. And I just want to invite everybody to join us next week, March 12th, for our Green Reads. And this is actually something I'm very looking forward to, environmental and green books. So we're really, really looking forward to all of this. So anyway, everybody, thank you very much for joining us today. Please join us again. Chelsea, thank you again for your time and your presentation. It was very interesting. And we hope to see everybody real soon.
Thank you, Michael.
Right?
One thing I might add is a lot of the times when we do stuff like this, the people that are attending are already sort of aware of the issues. So please share with your friends that aren't and try and get them on board.
Yes, excellent. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Friday. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Thank you.